Now getting to DistroKid. Now, I don't know if you heard of a company called United Masters. That's a company owned by, Steve Stout, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a digital distributor.
Mhm.
But, what he does is he has sort of contracts with the NBA, and he also tries to connect artists to labels and things of that nature, right? So it's more hands-on, it's basically, his company selecting specific, artists that they feel they can make money from, and then promoting that artist to different labels to, sort of do it that way. So it's, it's like an A&R management sort of thing, but, just in a totally different, way of doing it, in terms of today, right? So DistroKid is basically doing the same thing. They have they're starting something called Upstream. It's basically the same thing, they're calling it matchmaking, and that's sort of what United Masters do too. It's just like, hey, if you and he also has artists that he's grooming as well, so he's putting artists out there, right? But it's the same thing. It's like, hey, you know what, this artist is actually coming up, let's connect them to, this specific label, and there's a major that already signed up with this, a sub of a major that signed up for this. And one of the things that they're doing is they're doing data mining. It's all about data when it comes to it, dude.
Yeah.
In the end, it's all about data.
That's the only thing that matters anymore. That's the currency.
The only thing that matters, I'm serious.
Yeah.
So they're collecting the data from your different platforms. So basically, when you sign up for a DistroKid, sort of account, you put in all this information, like your social media, like URLs, your YouTube, and they pull all that information, find out how many subscribers you have, how many followers, and see how your song is doing or your music is doing, see what sort of lives you're doing. And then they sort of then connect you to like the labels, right? And I'm just like, okay, so, and this is called Upstream. And I'm like, okay, so now, DistroKid is getting into the whole management game. But they're also saying this. They're saying once we make the connection, then we're done. We're not the middleman. So they're saying, hey, we're done. You're just in our platform. And I don't know if like Upstream is going to be an extra charge, but once you're there, then they say, we are done. We are not dealing with you anymore. So that's kind of cool. DistroKid is kind of upfront with that. Like, pay us $20. You can, do whatever you want to. What do you think about this whole, it's a new way for artists to get in front of, the labels. Remember back in the day, we used to pull phone numbers and addresses off of vinyl. And then go up to the label and just wait outside with a tape, and just like, please listen to my demo.
You basically the real method for how people got signed back in the day. You had to know somebody, and that person will walk you into the label,
right?
And they were that middleman type job,
right?
And that's how we got our record deals. Somebody walked us in and sat us down with the right people, and that was it.
Right.
It was nothing. It wasn't like, oh, we listened to your music. They didn't even listen to the music yet before they're like, okay, what do you got to say here? It's just because of who did it.
Right.
And, this is technically the same concept, just in a 21st century new kind of way. And I think it's a good idea because a lot of artists and a lot of new people that are just making music, they don't know how to do the business part of it and how to make the connections with people. And the connections are way more important than your music at this point, honestly. Right. If you don't know the right people, it's not going to matter how good your song is. It's irrelevant.
And just to add to what you're saying right now is, again, like you said back in the day, people had to introduce you to an A&R, had to introduce you to a manager, because. Or you had to stand outside and wait for the person to come by and for them to take your CD, right? Or your tape, right? Because when you sent music to labels, that was unsolicited, right?
Yeah.
So then they
Yeah.
would just go in the tape box. They were never listened to, right?
They threw those things away. I've
They threw
seen
them away. That's
stacks of
unsolicited
tapes and
music, right?
CDs.
Right.
Yeah.